I can totally see why some people would prefer if Sony would ship a handheld that played games natively and didn't require streaming at all. I would prefer that too, but Sony decided to go with this solution instead. And even if it's not the right solution for you, I think we can all agree that there's definitely people out there that this fits a use case for. But that's only true if Sony hit the right price. And that's the question. Did Sony hit the right price? I cannot tell you how many times I've had somebody ask me, do you think that thing X is worth Y price? And my answer to that is almost always maybe. It depends on how much disposable income you are and exactly what this thing does. For the PlayStation Portable, it is a dedicated streaming device that only works for the PlayStation. And it has PlayStation controller built in. You look at the price of a PlayStation controller, it's about $70. You look at the price of a tablet, you combine those two, Sony landed at $200. Now, if you think that $200 is asking too much for a dedicated streaming device, then I've got really good news for you. There are a lot of other options out there that can cost you a lot less. If you have a handheld PC, you can use software to stream to that PC. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And if you have a phone, and we pretty much all have phones, then you can use the sponsor of today's video, Backbone, in order to turn your phone into a PlayStation Portal. This is the Backbone, a telescopic controller that turns your phone into a next-gen console like an Xbox Series or a PlayStation 5. I've been using it to play games on my PS5, both when I'm away from home or when the TV is otherwise occupied. The Backbone One controller snaps onto your phone via USB-C or Lightning, depending on which phone you have. Here you can see I'm using it with my iPhone 15 Pro Max, so I'm using the USB-C version, and I don't even have to remove my case. I have a lot of handheld systems, but I don't always have them with me. But do you know what I always have with me? My phone and the Backbone One controller. I have access to just about any game I want to play, no matter where I am. And if you've got a decent signal, you can stream games to it directly from your PS5 back at your house using the PlayStation Remote Play app, or straight from servers like GeForce Now or xCloud. If your connection isn't stable, you can even play games on Apple Arcade that support controllers. The Backbone controller is easy to use and could be a fantastic stocking stuffer for the gamer in your life. And if you're the gamer in your life, then I think it's time you treat yourself. So get your own Backbone at playbackbone.com or use the link in the description down below. Now, Sony did offer to give me a review unit of the PlayStation Portal, but at the time that they had reached out to me, I had already purchased it and it was supposed to arrive the next day. So I said, no, thank you. That being said, even if I did get a review unit from Sony, I would say exactly the same things about the device because I'm always honest when I talk about these devices in my videos. That being said, I really wish that I had accepted their offer because the one that I bought arrived broken, and that meant that I couldn't make the video that I wanted to make when I wanted to make it. So I'm making a little bit of a different video today. Now, it's important to point out that just because mine didn't work doesn't mean that the PlayStation Portal is an inherently bad device. Whenever you make thousands of items, some of them are going to be stinkers, and I think that I just ended up getting a dud. I got my money back last week, and now I'm trying to mull over whether or not I want to spend the $200 on the PlayStation Portal, because in the meantime, while I was waiting, I found some solutions that are actually really cool. I absolutely have a use case for it. I spend tons of time in this room making videos like this or recording podcasts. My PS5 is right over there on the other side of this camera, and the PlayStation Portal would allow me to play my PS5 in any room of the house. So for me, this was definitely a compelling device, and I was willing to spend $200 for it. But here's the truth. There are good things about the PlayStation Portal, and there are bad things about the PlayStation Portal, and both things can be true at the same time. All right, so let's talk about the reasons why you might want to get a PlayStation Portal, and then I want to talk about the reasons why you might want to skip the PlayStation Portal. Let's start with screen size. Most, not all, but most handheld PCs that you have right now are going to have a smaller screen than the PlayStation Portal. You know what else has a smaller screen than the PlayStation Portal is my phone. So right now, with the exception of the Aya Neo Qun and the Lenovo Legion Go, all of the other handheld PCs that I'm aware of have screens that are smaller than the PlayStation Portal. In my review of the Lenovo Legion Go, I did say that it was a relatively comfortable device. Like, just holding it in your hand, I didn't feel like I was going to get tired, but it's way heavier than the PlayStation Portal. I didn't get to play the PlayStation Portal, but I did get to hold it in my hands as I tried over and over to get it to update. And I gotta say, it felt really comfortable, especially the fact that it was so light. So if I were choosing a way to stream my PlayStation 5 games based on comfort and screen size alone, I think that the PlayStation Portal is a pretty good buy. Let's move on to its biggest win over everything else, and that is the controller. The DualSense controller is an absolutely fantastic controller feature-wise. I personally prefer the feel of the Xbox controller more than the PlayStation controller, but those triggers are absolutely crazy when they're done right. So when I'm streaming a game to a device that's not a PlayStation Portal, like Gran Turismo 7, which supports those force feedback haptic triggers, it just isn't as immersive as it would be otherwise. In fact, I really don't like playing Gran Turismo 7 without those haptic triggers. It doesn't feel as cool. Now, of course, if you don't really care about that feature, or if you don't play games which utilize it, which, let's be honest here, are most of them, then that's not really something that's compelling to you. And I can see why people would be like, I don't really care about that. Now, let's talk about why you should skip the PS Portal. Well, number one, the price. Not everybody has $200 to spend on an accessory for their $400 or $500 console, depending on if you got the digital or the disc system. And because of that, not everybody is going to be able to justify picking up one of these things when you can accomplish the same task using devices that you already have. Devices like your phone. Your phone and a backbone controller, like I talked about earlier, are a really great way to use your PlayStation 5 when you are out and about or just in different rooms of your house. This makes it the most portable version of your PS5. And not only that, but your phone also automatically has a connection to the internet. And if your speeds are fast enough, then you will be getting those streams to your phone absolutely fine, and you don't have to worry about tethering or anything like that. Now, most of my audience already has a handheld PC, be it a Steam Deck, an ROG Ally, a Lenovo Legion Go, or something else that they use to connect to their PS5 and stream that way. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. All right, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hit the Steam button and head down to Power. Once you hit Power, you're going to want to switch to Desktop. If you've never used the Linux desktop before, this is actually very much like Windows, so I don't think you have to worry too much that it's like going to be super unfamiliar. Once it boots up, you're going to want to wait until Steam starts. Once Steam starts, then you can start using your trackpad. Your trackpad won't actually respond until you start Steam. So let me zoom in on this. And we're going to come down here to the Discover Store. I'm going to click on it. It's going to open up the Discover Store. And then right up here, I'm going to search for Chiaki. If your keyboard doesn't automatically come up and you hold down Steam and press X, it'll bring up your keyboard. And I'm going to type in Chiaki, Chiaki, and I'm going to hit search. And I'll hide my keyboard. And you can see that I have it installed twice. I have Chiaki installed and I have Chiaki 4 Deck installed. I'm going to use Chiaki 4 Deck, and the reason I'm going to use that is because it automatically sets up some of the trackpad stuff to emulate your PlayStation button, which means it'll make it easier for you to close games and stuff like that. Once you've got it installed, go ahead and close the Discover Store, and the next step that you're going to want to do is open up Firefox. Once you have Firefox open, you're going to want to go to this website. It is psn.flipscreen.games. And all you have to do, without needing a password or anything, is type in your PSN ID and hit submit. Now, I'm not going to do that right now on screen, but what is going to happen is it's going to show your account ID for PS Play and your encoded ID for Chiaki. So once you have that information, you're going to want to be able to copy and paste it into Chiaki. So I'm going to minimize Firefox and I'm going to open up Chiaki for Deck. And if I go into my search button, I can type Chiaki and you can see there it is right there. So I'm going to open up Chiaki for Deck. Now that I've got Chiaki for Deck open, you're going to see any PS5s that are in your home network. I've got two here showing on screen because I have two PS5s in my house. I have mine, which is up here in the NerdNest, and my son's, which is downstairs. I'm going to double click on mine, and it's going to bring up this information window. You do not actually need to worry about your username right here, but what you do need to do is put in your base 64 PSN code, and this is the thing that you get from that website that I'm telling you about. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to copy my encoded ID. Once I've got my encoded ID copied, I'm going to right click and paste. In order to get your PIN, you need to boot into your PS5, and then once you've got your PS5 turned on, go into System, Settings, Remote Play, Link Device, and it's going to put a code on screen for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to get that code and type it in right now. Then it's going to pop up a little screen that says that you were successfully registered. After that, if you double click on that particular console, it's going to boot into it. And if we just wait a second, we should see, now we can see my PS5, and I'm booted right into my PS5. But we don't want it to look like this, where I've got the thing on the bottom and the thing on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and close Chiaki, and I'll say, do I want the console to go into sleep mode? I'll say no for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up Chiaki to be bootable in game mode so that I don't have to do this again. All right. So then all we have to do is add it to Steam, and I'm going to go into games, and you can see Chiaki for Deck is right there. And if I come down here and say add to Steam, you'll see the little Steam icon bounce for just a second. And then when it's done, it should be added to Steam. So in order to check, I'm going to return to gaming mode, and my system's going to think about it for a second. And I don't know what just happened. Whoop, there we go. All right, we are now booted into Steam. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my library. And in my library, I should see Chiaki for Deck right there. And if I click on it, it's going to ask me which PS4 or PS5 I want to boot into. I'm going to select this one. I'll just double click. I don't know why, but I have to hit it like a bunch of times before it actually goes through. And now it is booting, and it should pick up my... There we go. It should pick up my PS5, and all I need to do now is start up a game, and we can look around and see how it runs. I'd say all of these have roughly the same portability as the PlayStation Portal, with the exception of the Legion Go, which is bigger than all of the other ones. But because it has detachable controllers and you can separate it into different compartments in your backpack, actually makes it more portable than the PlayStation Portal, which is a really odd thing to say. Nothing is going to, like, all of these are going to be pretty expensive though. Like the cheapest Steam Deck is $380 if I'm remembering correctly. I might be wrong about that. And then the Legion Go is like $700. So if you're looking at those devices and you don't already have one of them, then buying one of them is a lot more money than just buying the PlayStation Portal. One advantage that you have with these handheld PCs is they are not unitaskers, or as my friend Rich called it, pizza cutters. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll link to his video down below. They do more than just stream games from your PlayStation. So if you don't really have a very good internet connection, or if you don't have a tethering plan, or if you're worried about going over on data, you can use these devices to do other things. And that means that if you buy one of these devices, then you can buy it for all the other things that you can use it for, and then the streaming to your PlayStation 5 is just an added bonus. Another disadvantage to having the PlayStation Portal is there's no access to Bluetooth, so you're stuck with wired speakers. Now, if you have an older Steam Deck, like the Steam Deck LED version, the Bluetooth chip in that is pretty slow, and therefore you definitely get a huge delay when you're trying to use Bluetooth audio using the Steam Deck LED version. The Steam Deck OLED version has a more updated Bluetooth chip, and because of that, there's a lot less delay, but you can still definitely detect it. However, one thing that you can't do with the PS Portal that you can do with the latest version of the Steam Deck OLED, is use HDR streaming. Chiaki Deck just updated so that if you are streaming to your OLED Steam Deck, you can take advantage of HDR games on your Steam Deck, and that is just incredibly cool that a third-party bit of software is able to get you even a better experience than you would otherwise have with the PlayStation Portal, the first-party option. It's pretty rare that the third-party options have more features than the first-party options. Needless to say, there are a lot of options for you to stream your PS5 to a bunch of different devices. One of those options is the PS Portal, but it's not the only one. And just because there are other options doesn't mean that the PS Portal is a bad option. It's just one of the options. The other options being your phone with a backbone controller, or your other handheld PCs that you may already have, or hell, even your laptop. Anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you liked this video, you're probably going to like this one right here. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Stay rad, everybody.